I should be singing. Hi, everybody. I'm Dasha Pruett. I've met some of you I've just met tonight, and really excited. I have to say, I am so honored and overwhelmed by the amount of support that I'm seeing here. Never have I imagined, first of all, never have I imagined that I would be running for Congress. The only position I ever kind of political I had was in high school. I was a senior senator of my senior class, and the only reason I did that is so I could cut class. So, but the other thing is seeing how much support that I'm getting, and it's really, really overwhelming and touching. And I've been getting a lot of questions about what got me into this and what's my political background. Luckily, none. So what got me into this was, as many of you know, I am a Russian immigrant. I came here legally in 1980 with my parents. I was 10 years old. And we came here, we came because of my father, because he was a political dissident and also a refugee. So we came here in 1980 because my parents wanted a better life for me. And so I was able to have a better life for my kids, who were 27 and 24. And so my grandchildren can have a better future. Watching what's going on out there right now is absolutely horrifying. This is socialism. How's everybody liking the last 5 months of that? Isn't it awesome? I mean, how mortifying was it to go into a supermarket and not to see toilet paper for months? You know, craziness, toilet paper. In Russia, toilet paper was actually a luxury. The ironic thing is, we use propaganda newspapers, so, you know. But still, it was a luxury. It was a luxury item. I share the story when this mess happened, and when they announced that they were shutting us down for 2 weeks. I thought it was going to be like a Philadelphia snowstorm, where we're going to be shut down for a little bit, and then we're going to come out. So, as I do with every snowstorm, I try to make some like soup and other things just so I can freeze, just in case. Rich and I went into our local Giant. It's a beautiful new Giant that's been open only a few years. And I just started crying. I did not realize that I had post-traumatic stress disorder from growing up in a socialist country. Just a visual of seeing all of these empty shelves. There was no meat, there was no eggs, there was no bread, no butter, there's no toilet paper, there was nothing. It looked like something out of a movie. And I said to Rich, I said, no, you have to get me out of here. I can't. I can't witness this. So when this started, again, I never thought that this was going to progress in the way that it's progressing. So in this last 5 months, what have we lost? We lost our freedom of religion. You know what religion is in communism? Communism. We lost our freedom of rights. We can no longer move around as we wish, or be adults and make decisions on ourselves of what we can do and what we cannot do, because now government is telling us how we should tie our shoes and when. We are losing our constitutional rights. Everybody familiar with the McCloskeys up in St. Louis? What did they take from them? Their guns. Second Amendment. How? I'm still trying to wrap my brain around how. How did they trample all over the Second Amendment and just came into their home and said, thank you very much? And now they're suing them for protecting their homes. That's what happens in communism. If nobody's noticing this whole blue lives attack on the blue lives, on our police officers, that's exactly by example, as they're meant to do this. They're trying to get rid of our police officers. Because you know who's going to be governing us? Is the government. And they're going to make the rules as they go. So if they don't like what they hear or they don't like what they see, they're going to take care of you. My dad was sent to Siberia twice. Yeah. He was a little bit of a, you know, he liked to push everybody's buttons. He was an artist. He still is an artist. He's a great artist. The reason he went to Siberia is because he was involved in this underground artistic political movement in Russia. Where, if anybody's familiar with Solzhenitsyn, he was part of that as well. And they would meet kind of 3 o'clock in the morning at somebody's apartment, and they would, you know, read poetry, read experts of their books, talk about paintings, talk politics, talk about communism and how the problems of communism. So my father and his artistic friends would, you know, they would paint things and then they would display them in the Gorky Park. I grew up in Moscow. So KGB would come in, round them up. Somebody would end up in prison. Somebody, and Solzhenitsyn sat in prison for a long time. Somebody would be sent to a mental institution when they would literally write messages in the potatoes, and just so they can get something out there. My father was sent to Siberia. The only reason he got out is because my grandfather, his father, was the first Jewish high-ranking captain during World War II. He was in charge of the mini-pod submarines. So he was very highly looked up on. And my grandfather would cut through the red tape, get my father out, or bring him back home. My father would start with the same shenanigans, and off he went. Having a recent conversation with him, he said, you know what? My mom actually brought that up. She says, you know what? We are so lucky we did not get murdered. Because they would do that. We were lucky. Because a lot of people were not. Government could come in the middle of the night, whisk you away, and your neighbors would forget who you were. That's communism. We are heading down right that path. And I want to know, how did this happen? Getting back to how did I get to putting myself into running? Besides this is being God's will, because I honestly believe it is. Because God keeps lining up and putting stepping stones in front of me, and every time I feel exhausted and I feel like I can't do it anymore, He sends me a guardian angel. I have people coming out of left field. I'm like, I didn't even know you knew who I was. Like, who am I? But God, this is a God-driven thing. And I think God put me here because God wants me to fight for our country. At least make people aware of what is going on. Rich has a group on Facebook supporting our president. And when he started it initially, it was August of 2017, I think. I kind of pat him on the back and I said, sweet kid, you're going to get 10 people. I'll be one of them. It's now up to 7,000 people. So when we hit about 650, which was probably in May, we kind of decided, like, you know what, why don't we throw something together for everybody to get to know one another? Not everybody, but maybe to meet some of the people in our group. We thought it was summertime, people were going to be away. We thought it was going to be about 50 people. We had 154 people showed up. So 2017, there was an election. And that's the election where Mary Gay Scanlon won. And I'll get into that into her as well in a minute. But there was also these rumbles about, you know, Bernie Sanders and socialism. So kind of, since we started doing these events, at some point there were over 500 people. I decided to use that platform and we had different speakers, and I decided to use that platform to educate people on socialism. I never thought that we would be living in socialism. This is where we are, and if we don't start fighting for our country, we will be socialists. They're already teaching us, brainwashing us on how to stand in lines. They spread them all over the store. People stand for 3 hours to get into Walmart and nobody's complaining. I don't know, I don't need anything that badly to wait for 3 hours, I'm just saying. The only thing I'll wait for is to meet the president. That's about it. But they're training us. It's these little subliminal things. Social distancing. What the hell does that even mean? It's socialism. Plus they're trying to isolate us to stay in our own homes so people don't talk. We don't start talking about this and saying what is going on. Because when people start talking, there will be a movement and there will be an uprising. Because people are getting sick and tired. Healthcare. What is going on with our healthcare? They're even pushing that as a socialist platform too. People started getting their routine checkups. They stopped getting their preventive care. People are not getting scanned for cancer. All of that is going away. Why? Because it's not cost effective. Why would they put COVID patients into the most vulnerable places? And they had all these deaths. Russia did the same thing. They don't want to take care of the elderly. They don't want to take care of the sick. If you got diagnosed with cancer, you died from cancer. If you had diabetes, there was no insulin. People died from diabetes. Whatever you got diagnosed with, that's what you died from, because there was no way to treat it. If there was, they did not treat it. This is, if nobody else feels sick to their stomach, watching our land of the free being destroyed, our history being wiped away, our flags being trashed, we no longer can sing our American anthem. We can do other things. We can loot, we can riot, we can burn people's property, we can get onto people's property and terrorize them, and that is all okay. But you can't stand up for yourself. When are we going to start fighting for our country? And the only way we can do this is by electing people who will actually fight for you. Whether it's a Republican or Democratic politician, they don't care about any of us. Where are they during this pandemic? Who's guiding us besides Wolf? And that's not guiding. That's just tyranny. Where are they? Nobody's there talking to people and saying, this is what we can do as a community. This is what we can do to help one another. This is how we can, safeguard this. Nobody. Businesses are going out. People are on unemployment. People are going to be losing their houses. They're going to be losing their apartments. They already lost school. So this is what they're robbing us of. They're robbing our children and our grandchildren. And it's unacceptable. But yet our political leaders are nowhere to be found to tell us how we're going to get out of this mess. What's going to happen when they reopen, which is going to be November 4th. Everybody get ready. It's going to be craziness because people are still in the arrears for the rent. People's business already gone. What are they going to do? There's no jobs available because a lot of businesses are closing. I know so many restaurants that have gone out and will never come back. Those were jobs, and that was somebody's business. We We have no leadership. The only one who's actually fighting for us is our president, despite daily attacks and belligerent and everything else that he is facing every single day. He holds his head high and he moves on, like a train, just keeps on going. But everybody else is running amok. Mary Gay Scanlon, the only reason she won is because nobody went out to vote, because it was not a presidential election. And Delaware County and other counties, our Republican friends don't like to go out to vote when it's not a presidential election. People tend to forget that local government officials who represent you up on the Hill, they're more important than the president, because they represent each and every one of you in each and every one of your issues. But they're not. You know what Mary Gay Scanlon's doing? She's defunding the police department. She already got rid of Upper Darby SWAT team, which is making me feel so awesome, considering there are people who are looting on 69th Street and blowing up bank ATM machines. Yes, I feel really comfortable now. On 4th of July, the birthday of our nation, what was she doing? She was marching in the Black Lives Movement. And guess who she had by her side? A police officer. If no, the police officer.
Probably your bodyguard, you would probably get paid.
By us.
Yeah.
So we are paying for their protection. Why isn't anybody going to be protecting us? Where are our rights? She spends more time at the Berks County Detention Center, which is not even in her district, running along with Madeline Dean, checking up on the illegal immigrants, than she does in our community. She was just there very proudly, making sure that everybody there had proper, COVID testing. What about people in Chester? Martha's Hook. Pick a place. You don't have to go far. There are people who can't get to them. What about them? They don't matter? No, because they're not a photo op. We need to start fighting, and the only way we're going to do that is by winning. We need to get our house back and get all of those yayas out of there. Pelosi, I can't look at her anymore. I just can't. That AOC and Omar and whatever Tlaib, that they're running this whole thing is horrifying. They despise this country so much. You can feel it when you, the hatred, when you look at them. They're like seething. But yet, they're holding high office and they're voting on our rights. If we continue to let them have this, we're doomed. So, I've taken enough of your time. Please go out and vote, and thank you so much for coming out and signing up.